maybe that's the first lesson of leadership, is that things don't always work out exactly the way they were planned. And I could ask you, what kind of intelligences do leaders need? And my claim is that leadership occurs as a kind of transaction, an interchange between the mind of the leader and the mind of the follower, audience members, or for those of you who are running business, employees, but also people who might buy your products or people who you're competing with. Leadership has to occur in all of those exchanges, and the vehicle that we use as leaders is our stories, narratives, convincing accounts, presentations, and those that are especially powerful are about identity, who we are, what our company is, what we're trying to achieve. So if I were a leader and you were my audience or my followers, I'd be presenting ideas from here and hoping to stimulate ideas in you, and particularly ideas about who you are, who we are, would be important. Leaders change minds. If I were an effective leader, I would succeed in making you think differently about who you are and what you do. What intelligences do leaders have, and which intelligences do they need? So here's my answer. Leaders need linguistic intelligence and interpersonal intelligence. Leaders need linguistic because we tell stories, and stories are told in language. And leaders need interpersonal intelligence. They need to understand other people well enough to be able to put themselves in the shoes, in the clothing of other people, and to see what would work with those other people. Are there any intelligences which are less likely to be helpful? My own study indicated that having too much logical mathematical intelligence, thinking about everything in a logical or scientific or mathematical way, was not necessarily helpful for leaders. They try to make things too much like simply keeping score on some kind of a spreadsheet. Also, having too much thinking about yourself and who you are can get in the way. Interpersonal intelligence can be a double-edged sword. You all know the Shakespearean play Hamlet. To be or not to be, that is the question. If you ruminate too much, if you think too much about who you are, that can get in the way as well. You have to combine those gifts with a desire to be a leader. Nobody remains a leader by accident. And if you're, let's say, the leader of a company, you should be looking for the person who has storytelling ability, the person who can understand other people, and I hope the person who will move the company in a constructive way rather than in a destructive way. That's what a leader of leaders or leader of future leaders has to do. And I'm not a leader of an organization, but I am the teacher of probably 100 students who wrote a doctoral dissertation for me in the last 40 years. And I had to figure out not only who would be a good researcher, which is reason and research, but also who would be a good teacher or a good department head, and those are people with language and interpersonal skills. So any of us who are dealing with people who are at a level of learning needs to be on the lookout for those skills.